welcome to this month's first episode of Reel Geeks, where we'll be discussing It, Chapter 2. Okay, discussing is probably not quite the right word, because as you'll have already noticed, our format for this episode is a tad bit different from usual. We were supposed to meet at the library today to record a review, and then we ran into the slight problem of a hurricane, which at least gives us one reason for not recording together that very few other review shows can claim. So, It Chapter 2 is, of course, the continuation of Stephen King's It, the story of Pennywise the Clown, an alien, I guess, creature that has been secretly terrorizing the town of Derry, Maine. This chapter will take place about 27 years after Chapter 1. The Losers Club, which is our group of main characters, have all grown up, moved on with their lives, until they get a call from the sole member to remain in Derry, Mike. Irony, I know, but who tells them that everybody has to come back to Maine. They've all made a promise that if Pennywise ever returns, they will come back and stop him once for all. And guess who's back? Now, I'm also going to warn you that at this point, I am going to go straight into spoilers, and everything from here forward is probably going to be spoiler heavy. So, yeah, this might be a good time to pause if you haven't seen the movie yet. I'm gonna say it. I fucking hated this movie. I hated this so much. With that being said, I do need to qualify this by stating that I'm not a horror fan. I'm not really a big Stephen King fan. Frankly, the only Stephen King film before this that I have any memory of is Maximum Overdrive, which, considering I enjoyed that one as a kid, is probably going to kill my credibility with everything else I'm going to say. But that being said, the movie opens at a fair in Derry where we see a gay couple who are pretty much attacked out of nowhere by I guess, family of local rednecks. It's not, the relation between these characters isn't at all clear, and I'm just guessing it's like three guys in different age groups, so I'm just going to assume it's a family. So they attack this couple, beat one of the men half to death, and throw him over a bridge, yet for some reason leave the other partner alive and able to identify all three of them. And this is the scene that there's no warning, and it is potentially triggering. And I did have a real large problem with it, but not because of that. The redneck characters here are the equivalent of what I've heard about the bullies in Chapter 1, in that they're played so psychotic to the point of cartoonishness that you just can't take them seriously. And for me, at that point, the movie completely lost credibility and just never gained it back. And after this, Mike starts calling the rest of the club, who have all pretty much gone on to varying degrees of successful careers, that they can still somehow magically just drop what they're doing at a moment's notice and rush back to Derry with no consequences whatsoever. And that's actually one of my other biggest problems with the movie. There's so much hand-waving, there's so much, oh, this just happens, or this just works out the way that it needs to work out in order to get to the next scare. the group meets up at a Chinese restaurant where they realize that they've been infected, I guess, by Pennywise, and that's why they all panicked at the thought of coming back to Derry. That's why they've all magically forgotten everything that happened to them beforehand and are slowly starting to remember only now that they've come back to Derry. And there are much simpler and much better ways to have handled this scene. It would have been real easy to say that their reactions are essentially PTSD, which would have been so much more believable. And it kills me to say this for a movie like this, but for me, this movie committed the cardinal sin of cinema in that it's boring. I was just sitting there like, come on, move it along, let's get to the next jump scare. Okay, just wait for it, wait for it. In a 3-hour film, there were 3 jump scares that worked to any discernible degree. Jessica Chastain is actually really well cast as Bev. I will give the movie credit for this because the 2 actresses that play Bev, this is probably the best casting in the entire series here. She's actually is given stuff to do. They won't let her stick with one thing to do, but she's at least, if nothing else, used better than Dark Phoenix, which, okay, granted is a low bar, but instead the movie just so much just plays it safe in a lot of ways. We have Bill Hader as the adult Richie, who is now a stand-up comic, and I feel bad for Bill Hader in this movie. He's utterly wasted. For about 90% of the movie, Bill Hader is just there for comedic one-liners and to be the guy who goes, nope, 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 I'm not doing this anymore, I'm getting out of town. That's it. And the sad thing is, these 3 are the 3 of the best used actors in the movie. I want to be able to put Isaiah Mustafa here as the adult Mike, mainly because, frankly, I only recognize Isaiah Mustafa from the Old Spice commercials, which I goddamn loved him in. And he's wonderful here because with me only having those commercials to draw on in terms of his look and acting, he's completely unrecognizable and he's doing great things. He doesn't look, or I don't hear the Old Spice guy in any way, shape, or form. And the movie pretty much completely forgets about him for the middle segment of the movie. And one last thing before I go into my ratings. I mentioned in the movie's insistence in repeating the joke that Bill doesn't know how to end any of his novels. Again, referencing the fact that Stephen King doesn't know how to do an ending. Neither does this goddamn movie. It ends once, and I'm literally in the theater going, oh, thank God it's, oh, no, it's not over? Oh, we're gonna draw it out by suddenly making Pennywise sympathetic. Okay, fine, let's keep going. Now it's over. Oh, no, we're doing another wrap-up? Okay. And we keep going, we keep going. We see kind of the aftermath for a few characters. Oh, now it's over. Oh, no, we have to get a wrap-up for Stanley, who is the adult member of the Losers who we're led to believe panics to such a degree when he gets the call to come back to Derry that he commits suicide rather than having to face Pennywise again. And that was a nice touch, because that essentially makes the character of Pennywise a little more terrifying. It raises the stakes, makes what the rest of our main characters are dealing with that much more tragic. So, of course, ending number 3 involves several of the characters receiving a letter from Stanley that is a suicide note that essentially glorifies what he did and completely kicks the legs out from everything that the Stanley character has contributed to the story up to this point. And then if I remember right, there's one more ending, and then, yeah, there was one more ending with Richie, because this is the point of the film where Bill Hader is finally allowed to act, because he's dealing with the tragic death of his best friend Eddie, despite the fact that this relationship is at no point established for the first 90% of the movie. And, yeah. I honestly left the theater wanting to give this a 1. At 3 hours, this movie is far too long. There are far too many elements that could have been explored more, but are passed over for the sake of another jump scare or a horrifying visual that the film spends 5 minutes setting up in order to make sure that you know it's coming. But I think in thinking about it, in the interests of fairness and knowing that this movie is not targeted to me in any way, shape, or form, the best that I can do here really is, I think the highest I could go is a 2.5. Like I said, several of the actors are clearly trying. I did like that instead of just using the actors from Chapter 1 in flashbacks, you see their story kind of added to and blended with what the adult characters are getting. But there's so much, like I said to Trevor afterward, I was eye rolling through this to the point that I had a headache by the time this thing finally ended. If you're a Stephen King fan, or if you're more of a horror fan than I am in general, you're going to get more out of this than I did. But again, that being said, there's not much here. Like I said, 2.5 at the highest. Okay, so with that, thank you for watching. We'll be hopefully back in a couple of weeks and back to normal as we check out Rambo: Last Blood, where, knowing full well how stupid this movie is probably going to be, hopefully I will have more favorable things to say. And obviously, I hope everybody is able to get through Hurricane Dorian in one piece. I'm pretty sure the fact that I'm not at home is the only reason that I have power right now. And so again, with that, you can find Paula at probably most local crafting events. Look for Out of the Broom Closet on social media. You'll find me at charity events throughout the city with Halcon's cosplay team. And next month, we'll be looking at the Joker. Yes, we're going to check out the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, because of course we are. I honestly right now don't know how I feel about that one, because I've been hearing very good things and very uncomfortable things. That might actually end up being the only review we do next month, with Halcon coming up from the 25th to the 27th of October. We may only do the one review, I'm not sure yet. Otherwise, again, thanks for watching, and if you want to support the show, you can actually check out the store that I've recently opened for one of my other ventures. I run the character of Addy the Adipose on social media, and I have a store where you can buy t-shirts like this one. We have a wrestling-inspired t-shirt or two, one that's a subtle reference to The Simpsons. You can go to redbubble.com/people/Addy the Adipose. Ironic as hell web address, I know, but that's just the way Redbubble works. And any purchase you make will basically give me cash to spend more than $1.25 on this show. So until then, that's a wrap. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, share this video with your friends, and drop us a line anytime you like.